All right, man, we're live again, and I'm already like sharing out my screen. Just jump right into it. Let's kick back to the camera. Welcome back. We're doing Hacker Hangouts. We're talking Defcon 29 badge life, but mostly the Defcon 29 badge. We've gotten them virtually. I haven't got mine. Gatorbyte and Gourry have gotten theirs. They've tried some of the virtual USB things we're going to talk about. Show off the badge, both some images and just what we found out about the badge. And I'm sure we're going to be just talking about a bunch of different DEFCON 29 stuff as well. But jumping into it, how are you guys doing? It's been a week. It's sad.
No, it's such a long wait. I'm super excited for DEFCON though. We're getting the closer we get, the more important. Like we're severely lacking in a panic team this year. I feel like we're not panicking.
I think we're all internally doing it, Gourry, for what it's worth.
I am definitely panicking a little bit. Like I always tell people this is the worst time of year for me. Like it's my favorite time of year. Don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, this stretch, this like 6-week stretch of just before and just after DEFCON is the busiest of the entire year. And it's like everyone wants to pull me in every direction, and I try to take time off so I can go to DEFCON, but it's always a nightmare. But you know, I love you guys, so I'm super excited to see you.
Yeah, me too. It's especially this year, unlike any other year, I'm trying to figure out what equipment to bring, because I want to do a ton of video. Like I've already said that I want to do a ton of video, both shorts, long features, just vlogging, everything I can do to do DEFCON. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I need a mic, and then I need the setup I have now. Do I need a tripod? Should I bring a tripod? I need a mic for a louder room. And for me, it's all new. So I have to research, what mic do I need for a loud room versus a quiet room versus a lanyard, and figuring out editing and uplink. So I'm like, even without the work stuff, I'm freaking out on the YouTube stuff. What about you, Gator? You're full blown dark netting right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we have officially opened our case file to the world, so anybody can go and play, which is the ability for you to get up, running. Most of the time, it's having to do with OSINT, about a couple of our different ops, and then that leads you up to when we're actually doing the live contest. So there's lots of stuff going on right now. We've got just a few quests online, and we just released saying, hey, if you're interested in one of our previous badges, we're going to give those away. We're going to end up having a special email here on the stream that you have to email during a certain window, and you can get a free badge. One caveat is that you need to pay for your own shipping. So go complete a couple quests. Let's go get you guys a badge in hand so then you can have a learning platform. And there are things that are still not been found on those badges to where both Gourry and Command Code can talk to, because there is so much code and so much time poured into these things. It's time to go find out some of these other hidden items. So yeah, between that, I've gotten a lot of help from Colonel this year, to where he's entered a lot of quests. Things are moving along because we moved things to a new engine. I'm getting on average about 4 hours of sleep, and we're doing great. Everything's fine.
Hey, you're hitting the Defcon 3-2-1 rule though. 3 hours of sleep, 2 meals, and 1 shower.
One
Like,
shower.
if you hit those, you're good. Like
Absolutely.
3 showers, 2 meals, 1 hour of
One
sleep.
good shit.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I feel
Infinite
like
alcohol.
do you have so the Darknet badge this year? I know we're like false advertising. We're like we're going to talk about the DEFCON badge. We will get there, I promise. The Darknet badge though, Gator, do you have one available? It's the last year one, and it has the latest firmware. We definitely stayed up very late flashing it. It's in the background here. Let's see if Gator's going to pull one out, show it off. Here we go. Yeah, there it is.
It does take so just to be clear, it does not come pre-assembled. It shows up as a kit,
Yes.
and you need to put it together. And yes, that includes all of those surface mounts on the back of that screen behind the eyes.
A lot.
But they're not too bad. Like we thought it was going to be worse than it ended up being. It actually goes pretty quick. We had first-time solderers that were able to put it together relatively quickly.
In Shadow is the way we're doing the badges this year is we are giving them away for free. I mean, that's insane. Like that's not a thing. You do have to when we sold badges, we were able to cover the cost, which is exactly what our goal was. Let me throw up Gator while I'm talking and he can show the parts off. The kicker is you need to go to Darknet, you need to play, you need to score. I believe it's at least 60 points, which is not difficult. It will show that you, and then the only cost is just shipping. So we're not losing money. So Gators, we're not all paying out of pocket. All you have to do is cover your shipping and create your shipping label. So it makes it so we're not like having to go through loads of Excel documents and try and figure out shipping.
We should put some form of link up on the screen so that people know where to go.
Here, someone entertain someone. Gulo, ready, go, and I'll get the link going.
Gator has something he was gonna say.
We'll flip it to Gator, and I'll get this thing prepped.
Okay, so sorry guys. Apparently my audio is cutting in and out, which is awesome. So to go join the case file, go to darknet-ng.network. I posted it here both in Twitch and in YouTube side. So go jump in there. You'll need to complete a couple beginner quests. There are specific quests that are called out to gain a certain amount of points. Once you've done so, you'll then see an unlocked challenge that you're able to go and earn yourself a badge. And with that, there's instructions on how to do every step for you to create an account at a location that we found out that is best shipping, and that if you're a little bit more paranoid, if you don't want to put your real name there, you can put your handle, but still pay for it with a real credit card and such. We're not handling any of the financial transactions. This is the way for us to be able to be clean. No money is changing hands. You're just literally paying for shipping yourself and shipping it to yourself. So follow the instructions. It's imperative, and we'll go from there.
And I am ready to throw that link up on screen. Ready for it?
Do it.
That is the email you need to email into.
That is quite the email.
Yeah.
It is literally specific for today only. You have the next hour to go through and do this because we only have a limited amount of badges to give away. So you've got an hour between 8 and 9 a.m. PST to get an email entered there.
We should definitely slap an additional hour on because people are going to come in on the back end and watch this. I'm saying you should do it.
We do have we have a total of 3 different windows that people can go. So that's also posted inside of the quest. It's also now posted inside of the darknet-ng.network notifications, and it has all the information for the 3 times that we have windows for. So go check that out.
So let's jump to the Darknet badge, the DEFCON badge. Or Gourry, did you have one last thing before we kick on over to that?
Oh, I was going to say if you guys want to talk about all the features on the Darknet badge, but I have brought up the Meet Your Badge one, but we can jump to the DEFCON one.
I would say let's. I think we got a few minutes before we jump to Darknet or DEFCON. You did a ton of work on it, Gourry. Why don't you talk about the Darknet badge a little bit?
So I do have a Meet Your Badge doc that I shared with you guys in our chat. We can post that up somewhere for people to look at. But all right, this thing is pretty jam-packed full of features. It has a Bluetooth client, which it has an entire set of quests that you can complete by connecting to it over a basic serial terminal. So the badge will give you a terminal that you communicate over Bluetooth, and it has a number of challenges you can do on that. It has a bunch of Wi-Fi features that I believe Command Code did, and so there's an entire web server on there that hosts some challenges. And then on top of that, the badges pair with each other. Obviously, that's going to be a little difficult, but if someone actually manages to get them to pair over the internet, we can award special points for that, because that's some dope hackery. It has an entire the chip that's on there is an ESP32. It has a 3D. Command Code spent significant time working out the 3D like sub chip on there, so it has a 3D display that goes and like produces some graphics. It has that front screen is actually a touch screen, so it has a drawing app, so you can draw on it, things like that. And then there's a number of other things, and the thing is entirely. I believe we open sourced all of the software, so you could even reprogram it, add new functionality if you want, and it's relatively simple to reprogram, if I'm remembering correctly. Not as easy to program when they're not put together, though. I will say that.
Can I interject here, by the way? Like, something to throw out there, which always concerns me with so much of badge life. How many people just like grab, like, even the Defcon badge? So the Defcon badge comes out with the firmware not updated. Like, they have like some semblance of firmware, but the full firmware is going to be released at the same time for everyone. To update it, you plug it into your system. It acts as a mass storage device. You grab the new one in there, and then it detects that the new one's there. Like, how many people just like are going to plug these things straight into their computer? Like, they're full, like, some of these are like running Raspberry Pi, like full blown Linux system, and you're like, whoop, boop, I'm gonna just plug it right in my production laptop, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's plugged into my computer right now. For lack of a better way of saying it, like, I relatively trust Defcon. But I'm not gonna go plugging into the things that I really care about. Like my personal computer, there's nothing on there that I care about losing. I have a business computer for that stuff. The last thing I was going to note about our badge, though, was that it is chock full of like cryptograms and stuff actually on the silk screen. So when you get your kit, take a picture of everything before you start putting it together, because there are things that end up getting covered up throughout the process. So that's just one note. Man, I forgot about all these. I haven't even solved half of those. I think there are still some. I think the Crux's puzzle is still long-standing and open.
Yeah, Crux's is amazing. Like, that was a fun challenge.
Right.
Actually, every year he always comes up with something cool, and he always uses like a World War II cryptography, like the Morse code one I remember from like Defcon 22, where his required like you decoded Morse code into this what looked like 6 different characters to find out, oh, that was the way they hid their messages between ships using, it was just like ridiculous. Like, it's always cool, like a trip down like history lane with his. So with that, do we want to let's jump into Defcon badge? Gourry actually has one up. I'm gonna flick on over to some of the images of it, since they've now started popping up online. That's the front of the badge. Let me see if I can make this just a scotch bigger. Like almost like we know what we're doing. Woo, there we go. So that's the Defcon badge. It's a multiple layer. There is 4 switches on the front of it, or keyboard switches. LEDs on the background. I know we have a list we're going to go through. It looks like the way you can actually pair is over USB. You can connect them via USB and then play games. And as we found out last week, and hopefully I am working on getting that stream up when we reacted to the War Games, The Dead Code. And you can play games, and you can play with me, baby.
Play with me, baby.
This is totally the way to do it. I mean, the badge looks great. I'm actually amazed they went with every other year, for those who don't know, for Defcon, every other year they flip back and forth between, I'm going to kick over my camera. They flip back and forth between a circuit badge or a circuitry badge, like, with all the electronic challenges, to a physical badge, and it's an every other year. with the massive chip shortage right now. Yeah, I'll flick on it over to Gourry. I see he has it up. With the massive chip shortage right now, I'm amazed they pulled this off. Like,
Right? Could not agree more.
Everyone within badge life I know was just struggling. Like, I found out the Furries badge actually only had 50 badges. Like, they sold out in like 5 minutes. I didn't get a chance to get one. I also didn't stay up till like 4 a.m. You did get one?
I totally got one. I've been supporting the
awesome.
Furries for a while, so as soon as I get it in hand, bought it sight unseen. I have no idea what it looks like this year, but I've got their previous or their first two. I don't have last year's, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to try and get video this year. I already have a meetup of someone who actually messaged me on Twitter saying, hey, I have one. I purchased one, and I just can't wait to show it off. There's the back of the badge. Looks like some crypto on it.
Yeah, have you guys actually looked at the badge? It looks like they're using like pogo pins for the battery connector and something else when they're actually sandwiched it together.
Right? It's pretty slick looking. Interesting enough to where the top board is used minimally and it could be swapped out, but another keyboard for you to be able to go through and use, which is pretty awesome. And one of the things that I like about it, if you have access to a 3D printer, you can go through and like print your own keys fairly easily. So like one of mine actually came with a broken keycap. The cool thing is that these keycaps are not inexpensive because the top's actually removed and you can put your own stickers in. But anyways, making your own keycaps, I'll go through and post links for that because it's really, really easy to do.
Did they go with like super clicky keys on them?
They did. Oh, they totally. It's blues, man.
Oh, that's terrible. It's horrible.
It's fantastic.
Anyone who has one of those keyboards at work who doesn't work remote is a terrible person. I want you to know.
No, you have headphones, so then nobody bothers you, Silk.
I think I've got Browns is what I use. I actually really love my keyboard.
I had someone convince me to move over to blues, and I got like a WASD keyboard. It is amazing, blue switches, but they are so loud. Like, they are so loud. I mean, that's why that's the whole reason I got this microphone. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It's just to have the keyboard rejection behind me. Less than a $500 microphone just for keyboard rejection, which it still picks up the clicky keys. Even with the rejection, it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
It's so loud. Yeah, it looks like Gourry's setting it up right now.
Yeah, so the badge comes with this little handy-dandy paper that tells you what the buttons are actually doing. So it comes with a very basic firmware. The firmware basically just makes it into a mini Stream Deck, and the buttons map to what you're seeing on this piece of paper right here, which is deafens you or mutes you, and then in the bottom puts a little smiley face. It's a keyboard, so it just puts the emoji into Discord, and then I forget what the last one actually does. It's like play and stop, but the kind of interesting, and it's a little funky. And it's definitely hard to see here, especially with the glare coming off my lights. Over here, let's see if I can get a good view from the side. I don't know if this is gonna autofocus or not. Probably not.
Here, I can pull it up on the pictures while you're talking.
So on the side here, there's 3 little dots that map to these pressure switches in between the boards, and what it does is it turns your volume up and down. Now,
nice.
Yeah, so I will say it's a little finicky, and we've experienced this before in our own badge when it comes to any kind of touch control. It's always finicky. So I have plugged this in, and it immediately turned my volume all the way up. Or I've plugged it in, and it immediately turned my volume all the way down. So be aware of that. If you are wearing headphones, maybe plug it into a different computer. Or just be aware that it could crank your volume. So you don't want to end up deaf.
What?
Don't want to end up deaf at Defcon.
Oh, maybe not.
So, and it is actually 3 physical switches, which if you get your badge, you'll be able to see them on the inside. I haven't pulled it apart yet. So it comes with a very, very basic firmware, but it does say on the paper that they will release the firmware for you to update when the conference starts. And I've already tested this. All you do to do that is you hold the bottom right button. There we go. It's backwards for me. The bottom right button, and you plug it in. And when you do that, you'll get the red blinky, and it'll immediately turn into a mass storage device. And there is a UF2 file that they are going to drop and make available for everybody to drop into there, and you just overwrite current.uf2 and power cycle the badge. Now, when you turn it on normally, when it's good, ready to go, if you were to plug it into your computer's the Stream Deck, it lights up with different colors, which is, wretched to see on stream, but different color buttons. And then each of those does these things right now. It does say in the in-between sandwich parts, help propagate, help the signal. What's up?
I got it. I've been disassembling Johnny 5. Oh, maybe not.
Is he alive?
Oh, there we go.
Ooh. No disassemble. No disassemble.
No disassemble, Stephanie.
So,
So,
solid.
Awesome.
Can you read the inscriptions in the various places for us?
Z if it
Hack
says
the planet. Signal propagates. Pro tip 321 2090251. And this one, ZIFTS GKIXKUADP lanyard. MK Factor.
Is there crypto on the lanyard too?
Not that I've been able to see, and I even held it up to the light to try to shine through it to see if there was anything. And
I doubt
there's
there
nothing.
would be. I kind of doubt there would be, given the fact that they're sending out the lanyards early.
That's a good point.
Yeah, the last thing here is it says join badges via USB for games. And this is, I think, the most interesting part of the badge. You see these little tabs here and here, and then there are female connectors for those tabs here and here. So I'm totally speculating when I say this, but I am guessing that those connectors all do exactly the same thing, and they're redundancy in case one of them rips off. Which is absurdly smart because in prior years, especially, I don't know how well you can see it, one of the previous year's badges up behind me had connectors for pairing, and they ripped off after using them like 10 times. These tall vertical badges. Yeah.
I remember those ones.
So it appears they have created redundancy, which is really, really smart. And I hope they're redundancy and it's not required to like pair multiple badges together. And if one of them rips off, you're SOL. But I presume they're redundancy. But it also has a USB-C connector and a USB-A connector. And that's the one that throws me for a loop.
Right?
Because that's the one that throws me for a loop because you would expect, it's got USB on it. I can just plug that into my computer. But when's the last time you saw a USB-A to USB-A? It makes me think you're going to plug peripherals into this, like webcams or something else.
Right. Or a keyboard and mouse for injection, or really now depends on what the firmware is written in. There is so much more you might be able to do with this, including I'm sure you guys have seen MG going through and combining the OMG cable with the badge. And he's like, hey, look at the strange things I'm able to do with this now.
So one last thing is it's not just USB powered. It also has a switch on top that can flip it over to battery powered. So turning it on. But yeah.
The thing which blows me away, like when I first saw it, it's like connect USB for games. I mean, they know a huge chunk of the conference is virtual this year. So and they're not like able to connect it. So Defcon's not this stupid. Like they're not going to just go like, okay, yeah, connect USBs. Like we were planning on doing it in person and this is the design we just went with, or at least I hope that's not what it is. So like I didn't even think about the fact that they might have this thing set up, as you said, to plug in a webcam, to play games over the internet with it. I'm curious So what is the chip in it? The Atmel blah 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 blah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I just posted it.
Yep.
I don't know anything about that chip. Is it able to run like a full like Unix Linux system underneath it, like a Raspberry Pi? No, it's not that powerful.
I don't think it's
It's
that
a full
powerful.
ARM.
It's a full ARM
Let
processor.
me take a look.
Yeah,
It's
it's a full ARM
32-bit.
processor.
Because I wonder, like, is there going to be the ability with that one where it could do like all the things that all the Hack 5 devices can do, or like a lot of malicious devices, where it can act as an Ethernet adapter, and it could actually pull an IP address and bridge connect. Like, could it be that smart where you could actually play games over the network with it? Or
It's
does
possible.
the
I
other
haven't
option is
read
that we
any-
do virtual USB with it?
I haven't read the specs on it yet.
I'm looking at it
But
now.
yeah, it's possible to do that. I'm probably going to set up a DMZ specifically for this badge to plug in just
Same.
to see what I can do, because I'll probably plug it into USB to Ethernet adapter. Also, I'm curious what the other pins on the face are.
Mm-hmm.
So in the top right-hand corner, there is another set of pins that may be
right.
for a serial dump.
Now,
Yeah,
what
the,
about this backside here? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like an
Let
explicit
me look at
object,
Gator's
I'll say that.
backside really fast.
Oh, please do. I mean, you're usually checking out my front side with the flashing of badges, but we can do
Ooh.
backside too.
I enjoy when you flash me the badge.
Yes, sure, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, actually, Archon Timeless. Yeah, where it was some sort of game which would hook all 4 badges together. The thing we were trying to figure out is whether or not it's going to require some like a virtual USB. Gator, I think, was the first one I saw mention that was that you can do virtual USB, and it's not like a complicated process. It's not install a new driver, install Mac, blah blah blah. There's like Chrome extensions that allow you to share USB over the internet. So
And
I'm going to
I
be
got
curious.
I got that tip from a Ginger, because he had gone through and done another project with that, and is like, "Oh, I'm just going to pass this over the internet to my brother, and now he can be playing a game with his controller on my machine, however many miles away," type of a deal. Or other people might be able to use that for keys that work in one spot, but then you're able to license multiple places. But
I
that would be
have
great.
one other thing, and then hand it to Gourry, which is how cool would it be if they built there's USB connection. It might be over Chrome, but how cool would it be if they implemented it into Discord somehow, where you could because they already have like the play where you do USB and games through the Defcon channel. That would be freaking amazing to me.
Oh, dude, like Hacker Jeopardy and like voting on things.
Yeah.
So here's some specs from the chip, and this will probably change your mind on just how much functionality is likely to be on here. 256K of flash and 32 kilobytes of SRAM. That's not a lot of space.
No.
It's a tiny amount of space. So whatever they have developed for this, I mean, don't let your dreams go too crazy and then set yourself up for being disappointed on how little functionality there might be.
Well,
it's enough space to do a lot of things. It's not necessarily enough space for
an OS.
A full OS.
Well, that being
but
go on.
You have the option. So with even that small amount of space, they've already having you flash it once Defcon starts. I'm assuming they're going to have more than one package that you can flash onto this, depending on what you want to do.
That's entirely reasonable to expect. Yeah, all I'm saying is that I remember from doing the embedded development on our badges that even just like Wi-Fi libraries or internet connected, just like the USB library, communication library, might be a non-trivial chunk of that 256K because software is bloated to hell today.
But we also downloaded a library. They may have actually written their own.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, and like this is definitely a thing. People totally custom write all of those things. Other aspects from this, there are 6 serial communication modules configurable as UART, and that makes sense, right? There's 4 connectors and then 2 USB. So that's probably all 6 serial communication modules. There's Spire IC2 16-bit counters, 32-bit time clock, 20 PWM channels and one 14-channel ADC and one 10-bit DAC. Full speed USB device and embedded host. All right, so some of the USB controlling is actually embedded on this chip. Support for up to 120 touch channels. That's
Ooh.
interesting.
Play with me,
support-
baby.
You can touch my
yeah.
channel.
But it
I
does
think
not
we-
look like it has any onboard, like there's no onboard Wi-Fi, there's no onboard. As far as I can tell, there obviously might be other controllers on here, but that seems like it's pretty much going to be the limit. So everything's going to be done over USB, probably via Discord.
I mean, what's interesting is when they started this badge, they had to imagine it was going to be hybrid. Like, because it wasn't like we're going to have Defcon and then they decided not to. It was we're not going to have Defcon and then they added it. So I am expecting, I mean, not setting my expectations really high or anything, but I'm expecting a bunch of little things like plug in a speaker, plug in this, plug in that, and it just dumps like things. I could also just see phase one day 1 firmware, day 2 firmware, day 3 firmware, day 4 firmware, and have them rotate through it. Like I'm excited.
There's just
Hey,
so much. There's
Peter.
also. Oh, go ahead.
So in the bottom corner, I've got some numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Are you
I have
able to
numbers.
see those numbers? And
Uh,
do they match
please-
mine?
I can.
My numbers are
Here, I'll go one better.
2,
There's one in the
0,
image right now.
9, 0, 2, old man, 5, 1.
Okay, yep,
Yeah,
those
I
are
got-
the same as mine.
2090251.
Yep.
All right,
I
so
wonder
they're
if
not
that's
serialized.
Yep, I'm curious if that's just for the human badges. Also, another thing,
I'll have
the
to get my
Agent
hands on a goon
47,
badge.
the Agent 47 on the silk screen, that
Mhm.
doesn't look like a barcode. That looks like letters. Or at least one of those
Yeah.
looks like a D.
Yeah.
What looks like
Anyway,
a D?
what
Sorry, I
I-
wasn't paying attention.
What I was going to say was I want to appreciate. I don't know who did it first. I really don't. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself and say that we did it first. But obviously, it has become a thing for badges to pair with each other and to communicate with each other. I have the question of who started that? When was the first badge that did that and became
So-
a thing?
All right.
Did
From the first
do it
DEFCON-
first?
From DEFCON, the very first year that I went, which was DEFCON 17, which was this guy, you were
Is that
supposed
really
to be
your
able
first
to.
year?
So
That's,
what?
that's amazing. I feel like I've known you for so much longer than that, Con.
It's 12 years ago.
It's
Oh,
12
gosh.
years ago, man.
Makes me feel
We're
old.
old.
Oh, you were old AF. But my understanding was that you can go through and pair them and make the entire circle with this guy. This one was supposed to be interactive via the microphone, so I don't know that was pairing. But then you go to the next one. That was the first and only year they've ever had a. Let me just pull this down. I'm going to pull down my wall today. This is a special stream. This was the first and only year that they actually put a display on the badge. So there is no way to go through and have those interconnect.
That was my
So I
first
can't-
year at DEFCON.
That was your
So
first. Okay.
The DEFCON 17 badge, they did have sound on it, and one of the honorable mentions for the badge hacking challenge was they created a blimp that was afraid of things. So they had this blimp that was flying around that if you made noise, the blimp would get scared and fly away from you. And it had 4 or 5 badges on there for like triangulation of where the loudest sounds were, so it could avoid loud sounds.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
Shadow,
this one,
we'll meet up one of these times. We'll get you on.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get you there. Maybe it's DEFCON 30. DEFCON 30 is gonna be amazing.
it's
Oh
gonna be
my
insane.
God.
I presume it's gonna
Anniversary.
be at the forum.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be huge too.
So what I was gonna say was like this. So, Darknet has been wanting to do this, have badges communicate over the internet type thing, and use it as either a communicator or some kind of collective game for a really long time. But It's all run by volunteers, and that is an incredible undertaking to make it reliable and actually, be fun to interact with, which is why, we have never quite gotten there. I wonder, it makes me wonder, given, as you guys said, they knew it was going to be hybrid or potentially all online, whether or not they developed this with that in mind, where the whole idea is plug it into your computer and now you can communicate with each other. There's also the follow-up question of, are people really going to do that and have these devices on your network directly plugged into your computer talking to each other?
Right.
Because there are some people that will probably attend Defcon and never plug this into a computer, never do anything with it, because they're under the impression that everything you potentially get from Defcon is totally potentially malicious and can do bad things to your network. Let me allay your fears there. Defcon is not going to sell thousands of these with built-in malware. It's not going to happen. It would get massive lawsuits. Like, it would be a nightmare. These are totally, obviously I have nothing to do with the badge. I didn't make them, but I will tell you, I trust them enough to just go ahead and plug into my computer. I'm not too worried about it.
Right.
Well, there's a difference between them putting malware on the badge and having somebody. You just sent this out to thousands of hackers worldwide. Somehow I don't think they had the time or effort, as we have had making our badges, to bulletproof these things. If they do communicate, there's an entire possibility that somebody could piggyback off and send malware out using those badges.
Absolutely. And so that's something you have to take into account.
There's also probably how it would have to work. Is there, for instance, if there's two-way communication, the two-way communication is not going to be you sending packets up and then someone sending packets all the way to you. It would just it would be a communication nightmare. So my guess is, if they do have that type of communication, you're sending communications up to a central server and you're pulling them down from that central server, so they're at least be able to live patch any vulnerabilities that are found, because there's never been any vulnerabilities found live on software while it's running.
I was gonna say, in the supply chain,
256K of Flash. There's not enough room to manage all of that functionality.
I mean, you could no. You could. All you're doing is you're sending a post request and hitting a GET request. That's it. But then again, I say that then you're going to have SSL libraries, HTTP libraries, a network stack library. No, you're definitely right on that one.
64 pages of RAM, right? If you malloc a 4 kilobyte page, if you malloc a 4 kilobyte page, you get 64 of those. It's a tiny chip.
Hey, I have seen. No,
it's the motion of the ocean, not the size of your chip.
With enough creativity, we are hackers. Things can happen, right? Let's just be honest.
No,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yes, I agree. There has been some pretty incredible things, but they would have to. Yeah, no. The more I think about it, the more, even just to send a simple request. That being said, though, there would still be quite a bit opportunity, since you can act as a keyboard and you're running as a Stream Deck. You could dump that command to a terminal and have it run.
That's what I was thinking. It was going to switch to a keyboard device and just stream curl commands to your terminal that you would have to trust. That would actually be super cool to do, but creepy.
What I want to see, truly, and I will give $100 to anyone who watches this stream, sees this, and actually accomplishes it. I mean, I'll probably give you $1,000. I want to see someone put Doom on this.
Oh, that's
$1,000,
and then speed run it.
I'll give you $1,000 if you can do it by the end of the year. I'll give you $1,000, Gula. I'll give $1,000 to the first person that puts Doom on this.
I was waiting for you to say the first person. I'm like, Gulo's going to open source this thing, and then everyone's going to be posting it on their badge. That's a verbal contract right there, too.
Sure sounds like it.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's $1,000. If he has to pay out, I'd probably chip in as well. But putting Doom on this,
I
I
don't know
mean,
if there's
you
enough
could
space, but
control
you might be
Doom
able to
with
get the
it.
You might
You
be
can
able to
control.
get the first. You might be able to get the first level of Doom on here. Like people have
Well-
put Doom on like Xerox printers, guys.
They have.
Xerox
I mean,
printers have
that-
way more memory. But
I mean, yeah,
if you
that's
look-
not as impressive. Like most of the newest like Xerox printers, like I say this mainly because it just came up in an assessment recently. Like they're like you can turn them into full blown routers.
Oh, yeah.
So if they're throwing
yeah.
up an access point and you pivot through that access point onto the internal network, like that would be weird and wrong and not
Let me
something that should
qualify
happen on an internal network.
Let me qualify this. You do not have to fit everything on the 256 kilobytes of RAM. If you can get it to put it, you like plug a mass storage device in here, and you can run Doom on the Atmel chip while paging stuff in and out. It doesn't have to run well, but you would have to page it into the chip bit by bit as it accesses those resources. And I don't know how you would get the proof out that it's running. I don't even need to see video, right? But if you can prove that Doom is running on this machine, yeah, I will give someone $1,000 easily.
So I was just thinking that
In most likely
we
a job.
If we flash the bootloader on this, then we may be able to page Doom in and out of this one update at a time.
Well,
Which
what
would
you would
frame-
do is,
One frame
what
at
you
a
would
time.
do- I mean, what you would do is you would, like I said, you would plug a mass storage device in so you could expand the capacity. And then you would use the flash and the 32K of SRAM, and you would just have to page the resources in. It's just like from your hard drive, right? When you play a game, well, it used to be this way. Now you could just page the whole damn game into RAM because RAM is so cheap. But you would have to swap things out to hard drive and out from out to disk and then page new stuff in. That's why you have long loading screens, right? It's all of that. You're loading all of those resources from disk. So it would be similar. It would take some serious hackery. Might not take serious hackery. Like people have done this with Doom before. That's one of the things I would love to see with this is if someone can get Doom. First person.
I'm
put
going to
Doom
laugh.
on
I'm going to laugh. There's Defcon probably already has a Doom firmware for this that's already pre-built, and it'll be dropped during the comments.
Well then, if Joe Graham designed this, Joe Graham gets $1,000, right?
I don't see anything about the only
I was gonna.
thing I see on here is Defcon and MK Factor. I don't know who MK Factor is.
Yeah, it's
But that's
Joe
not
Grant.
Joe
I don't think
Grant's
designed
stuff.
it.
That's fair. Then it might be MK Factor. Who knows?
And for just based off of what the badge has, MK Factor, Defcon may be canceled. I'm going to have to read more of this later. Based
Defcon
off of
was
Joe
canceled.
Grant's designs,
Which is a
I would
joke.
say, and no offense to whoever created this badge, I would almost say that this is kind of a weak badge compared to what Joe Grant usually does.
Shots
He
fired.
goes off and he finds, the last badge used a cochlear implant to communicate back and forth.
That is pretty.
There was some serious engineering that he did with that. And it was a freaking quartz crystal that looked like a urinal cake that we had to use. So it was the frequencies that he was using from that. And he's done things like that in the past. So having just simple USB communications between things, it's cool, but I don't think it's like batshit crazy Joe Grant cool.
I'm gonna jump in here on this one specifically because I think on the surface I would agree with you. You look at the badge from Joe Grant's badges, they're put together, but all of that functionality that he created exists on the badge. Like there might have been connections. It's all on the badge. With this badge, there is no way of knowing how much exists on the badge versus firmware after firmware after firmware that you can flash on it, online functionality, Discord functionality, and that is a ton of moving pieces that might exist outside the badge that still had to interact with it. So I'll reserve judgment on this one.
100% agree with that. My point is I don't think Joe Grant did this badge because it's not a hardware badge. It's going to be more of a firmware badge. That was all that I was saying.
Yeah, you would have seen Kingpin on it. I can probably ask.
Yeah.
I'll IRC him later.
Yeah. So I don't think Joe did this badge just for that fact. I'm not detracting from the badge at all. I'm just saying that it's not a hardware engineering feat. This could be a software engineering feat that blows everyone's minds, which I'm totally fine with.
Oh, you know what? Digital Tinker brings up a good point. He did the TV Be Gone Doctor Who badges.
That's right here.
Yeah, here, let me flick on over to Gator. Of course, Gator has them.
Oh, nice.
I remember those.
These are awesome. They did a couple different versions of them too. So this was the first gen.
I'm amazed every year within Badge Life, the fact that we have this is not the first chip shortage we've had. Like, there has been numerous chip shortages. This year's was really bad, yet Badge Life just continues on. They plan them out. It is amazing how many badges are out this year. But in a few of them, yes, I would agree with what Smitty says. They're like blinky LED boards and just add to the e-waste. But some of them, like the DC 801 badge, like that thing looks freaking amazing. I got to jump on the phone with someone, one of the designers. I'm going to look up his name because I'm definitely not going to butcher it and give him credit. Like, he did an amazing amount of work, so I want to make sure I pull his name up.
Yeah, MK Factor is definitely their own people.
Admiral Potato. He did a ton of the design in the badge. They had to do he had to write their own scripting language because there wasn't enough space in the badge to actually load one in, so they wrote their own scripting language just to be able to interact. All right, so little announcement. After my badge video, they reached out, Admiral Potato reached out. He's shipping me one. So I get to play around with it. I'll pull it up. The other thing he announced, the entire game, which is on the badge, they compiled it so it runs inside a web browser, and that's released. It's open source. It's out there right now. Some of the source with the secrets are held back, but the badge lets you overwrite firmware, or not, maybe not overwrite firmware, overwrite memory. Overwrite memory on the fly on the badge, like with the buttons on the bottom.
That's
like
awesome.
So this is like I'll bet you they got this idea from there's an old Super Mario World SNES bug that lets you overwrite memory. It's like a buffer overflow, but it lets you write arbitrary memory or an arbitrary data to memory. And so there was a speedrunner, and I think they did this where they did this on a real console where they actually programmed Snake on the fly in Super Mario World using digital input, and then jumped to the code and just started playing Snake, right? So like, yeah, it's a similar idea where there's code on the badge that just lets you write arbitrary memory and then run your own program. It's one of the things I do to teach binary exploitation to demonstrate, like, no, a computer will literally just run whatever you give it, however it's programmed, where I'm like, here's a buffer, write whatever you want into it, and then I'm going to run it. And the chip doesn't care as long as you have the permissions to run in that area of memory. So it's a really, really cool feature.
That's something, by the way, which gives me hope for this badge doing crazy functionality, is when you look at some of the buffer overflows and what people have programmed into it. Like the Omelette is amazing. An Egg Hunter was like the precursor for Omelette. An Egg Hunter is like one of the coolest buffer overflows ever because it's incredibly small. You give it an 4 byte code, which might be like egg or something like that, and then it will search through memory. So if you don't have enough space to execute it, you can just like throw it in the heap somewhere and then run this Egg Hunter, which will search available memory for that and then execute. It's like a search and execute. So like. There is a will, there is a way.
It's that those Egg Hunters are there for when you have very limited space in individual payloads, and so you can just spray stuff into. You have control to be able to spray a ton of memory, but you don't know where it is, and B, it's so small you can't get an entire program. So you spray chunks of it, and then you run your Egg Hunter to find the first thing, and then that ends with a small Egg Hunter that finds the next thing, and then that runs a small Egg Hunter that finds the next thing, type thing. It's really cool.
So looking at
in my last one last bit, and then I'll let you jump in my very last binary exploitation challenge in Darknet, I actually have a shellcode challenge that limits you to 3 byte instructions of assembly, and then at the end jumps to the next buffer. Similar concept, but go ahead.
So looking at MK Factor stuff, they're actually pretty cool. They're going through, and if you read through their blogs, you can see how they're progressing through their badge design and how they're building things. I mean, the Saint Con Enigma badge just looks freaking awesome. And then they did the car hacking village badge last year. I was trying to see if they prefer specific chipsets to see if there was any hints in their previous work, but it looks like they just select whatever they need for the job that they're doing. So it's like a progressive thing where you're watching them grow and do cooler and cooler things. So this is pretty awesome.
I posted. He also he posts some memes that are super relatable as badge developers, and yeah, they're stuff like, do you think your PCB order made progress? And you're like, oh god, yeah, toss that up on screen. This one's for command code because this one is 100% how we felt when we were developing the badge.
Oh, that's incredible.
This is why we
So
have a panic team.
I'm actually, hold on, Silk. I'm posting first image. So the Saint Con badge is that second image I just posted for you, Silk. And that's actually super cool. It's got the keyboards. I haven't read enough about this. There's some cryptography and stuff on there. But if you post that second image of that badge, they all connect to each other and they can actually communicate and pass information.
That's really cool. I'm dropping it on screen now.
Oh wow.
Again, there's probably a more clever way of doing this live on stream, but bear with me.
It works. That looks pretty awesome. Looks like the Stargate, right?
Yeah, it's freaking sweet that they went through and did that. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun badge to take apart. It's probably going to be mostly dumping firmware and processing through the firmware. There's one chip on here. I don't really know what it is, or what it does, because there's really nothing on there other than OO and an M. But past that, I think this is going to be a fun badge. I think this is going to be more a software-driven badge than a hardware-driven badge this year. Mm-hmm. So reverse engineering the firmware that you're flashing on here and then trying to win $1,000 from Gourry by installing Doom.
I mean, the thing keeps going on in my head is they made a badge that physically I don't know why I'm doing this. Physically connects over USB to play games. Connect the USB to play, and they know everyone's remote. So the way I read that is connect the USB to your computer, not to another badge. Connect it to a computer, and then you're going to be able to play games with other people. I don't know how they're going to do it.
No, it says join badges via USB for games.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is you can join badges via USB for games. Like, it's the verbiage still works if it's through your computer over the internet.
But wait a minute. So, who's to say that this is the Defcon badge?
What do you mean?
Did they say?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the remote badge.
Oh, right? You're saying in person.
This is the virtual. Who's to say that this is the in-person badge?
I think they wouldn't do that to people. I truly don't believe. One, with the amount of time that goes into badge design, you're not going to do one for in-person, one for remote, and then 2 different games going on.
Well, that's if it was one person that was developing it. If they did a Joe Grand badge and an MK Factor badge, that's 2 different things. Or a Lost badge versus...
I find that very unlikely. Just the amount of development that goes into this stuff. They would have poured all of those resources into developing multiple firmwares if that's, they were thinking about doing that. The logistics of having one badge made,
multiple badges.
Yeah.
And then just getting the PCBs ordered is...
And batteries, missoldering, prototypes, mistakes, someone leave a trace on there that's not supposed to be on there, flashing one firmware and then realizing you need to flash the other firmware after all the badges are already stuffed, having Gourry find a mistake in the badge after they're already stuffed. I mean, these are all problems that theoretically could happen while designing the badge.
I have the ultimate question, though. Gula,
Yeah.
how do we turn a urinal cake into one of these?
I'm going to say those buttons. You need to 3D print some buttons that you can scoop the urinal cake into. So then you're embodying it. So every time you click, maybe different color buttons based on urinal cake. Just saying.
I'm just looking at this thinking to myself, that's a lot of carving. And there's no darknet table this year. So,
oh my gosh.
Who are we going to kill?
Yeah.
So one of the things that was interesting about this is that it reminded me of another conference earlier this year, which was called the Hacker Hotkey, based on KernelCon. And I just posted a link for Silk that I had gone through, grabbed. That was a very basic little badge, which was awesome, but then had this keyboard that you're able to go through and reprogram yourself as well as part of the conference. And there's a lot of layover between the folks who are at KernelCon and the folks who are here at Defcon. So I'm wondering if that was also helping to inspire it. After that, it made me go through and make my own keyboard for that same purpose, all out of 3D printed parts and soldering. So I think we're getting people back into hardware to where, hey, can we start playing with this again and reprogram, finding out how you can map different keyboards with and that one I believe is just a little Arduino versus whatever this guy is running with the Atmel such and such. So because I was not as familiar with it either.
Brandon makes a really good point, and I am going to throw that email back up right there. Brandon actually did call it out, and it makes a ton of sense. They did mention there is a difference between the two, but I took that as something physical about it with respect to showing up. You're right. You're not going to be able to show up to the conference with a remote badge and expect to be there in person for the price difference. So yeah, I think it's going to be physical. I would agree. I don't think it's going to be technical or anything like that, because people would be pissed if they missed out on part of the conference because they're remote.
Right.
It might be a color thing. I think it's going to be something visual that you'll be able to see from 10 feet away, and it will be on both sides of the badge. I think it'll be something simple like that.
I mean, there's definitely going to be that, but it's also going to be like the back has a picture on it. And
right.
I think it's likely, and then like the interior of the badge, I think it's likely, as with every other year, that all of the different varieties of badges are going to have different clues for, the badge event. So I think it's likely that the at-home badges are going to have something unique to them, but they're going to be functionally the same. Like the silk screen will be different, but that's it.
Yeah, when you had it now, looks like you had one, which then it was too late to make a radical change after it was announced. Yeah, it's really hard to pivot after something's already been created.
The keycaps say DEFCON on them as well.
They do, which is pretty epic. And like I said, if you've never, depending on how deep you're getting into keyboards, because mechanical keyboards are a deep, dark hole that you start throwing money into, and then after 2 or 3, you start making your own. Then you can start getting into different keycaps. This one is cool because this actually pops off, and you're able to remove it and then put your own sticker, then put it back on, and be able to have something in between there. So the very edges do say DEFCON, which is pretty epic. Come on, you can do this. I believe in you. It's going to be really hard to pick up on screen.
It's going to be really hard. I'm pulling the images.
There we go. So even with this, you can physically see the blue switches on the badge when Silk pulls up an image. So you can pop the blue switches out and replace them with reds or browns or greens or whatever it is that you want. But I'm also wondering, so they didn't use pogo pins on the actual keyboard buttons themselves, but if you use something like a pogo pin or a slightly cut pin that is pushed down with the keycap, I wonder if you could turn it into more of a Rubik's Cube to where you could cycle the buttons around. And as you press them, you're not using necessarily what the button was designed to do. You're switching to more of a actual button where you're pushing the pins up against something rather than using the contacts inside the button. I don't know if that makes sense to everyone.
Yeah, no, I follow you. And there's another question from somebody in chat. It was making it hacking. Can we post the dimensions of the size to be able to print inside? The cool thing, each one of the badges that are shipped out actually have a little piece of paper that give you the dimensions. Give me a minute. It's off screen. I'll be back and can go from there. Otherwise, I think, Gourry, you have your piece of paper right in front of you, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to answer Shadow Absorber's question. The Darknet badge, if you fulfill the challenge requirements, you email, it's only US, unfortunately. You might be able to reach out to Gator, but just because we're giving away the badges for free, which, again, is kind of unheard of when you think about it, it just made it easier going through Pirate Ship to make the return labels, and going international, since we're giving them away, introduces customs and gift and all of extra paperwork.
More taxes. A lot more taxes,
which we don't want to have to deal with.
Shadow, if you actually have proof that you complete it, since I know you, message me and I will make sure you get a badge. I have some extra ones, so even if Gator runs out, then I can ship you one of my extra ones. I'm not offering this to everyone. I actually know Shadow from Discord and have been communicating with them for months now.
Fantastic.
So if you know me and you need a badge and you're not in the US, you can message me. If you don't know me and you start messaging me asking for a badge, I'm going to say no because I have trust issues and I don't play well with others.
That's awesome. Thanks, Gulo. Yeah, Shadow, we love you dearly. Thank you for joining the stream as always. Absolutely. So I'm glad Gulo was able to make that happen.
The legends for the keycaps are 12.5 by 12.5 millimeter. So if you want to print out your own, right at the bottom. I don't know if this is it's gonna be too blurry because this does not. 12.5 by 12.5 millimeter are what the dimensions of the keys are.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, we're just cruising. I think we came to the top of the hour. Wow, man, there's so much cool thing with Defcon is upon us. Gator, you have to have a countdown, and while you're queuing that, also you guys can actually. Oh, nah, you don't want to be that close. Hello, but I now have like more wider lens. You can see the whole office. You can see my wonderful Muppets in the background with their big gaudy frames, which I'm like weirdly excited about. What is the countdown, Gator?
My butt is failing.
Oh,
your butt is failing?
Today. Yeah, you heard me. My butt, I failed today. I went to type in countdown and it's not working. So give me another minute and I'll have the right answer for you. That sucks. He even gave me pad time, man. I appreciate it. And I just come up and say, wow, just full of fail.
Man, there's just so much. It's like one of those things. I am just stoked at DEFCON. While it's going to be unfortunate that it's not the whole crew showing up, it's going to be like intimate. There's going to be more, less people there, but I think more in-depth conversations, which I'm looking forward to. But man, DEFCON 30, the whole family is going to get back together. We're going to be able to hang out, and I'm stoked about that. I really, really am.
All right, I have the days. It's 11 days, or say 1 week, 4 days, 14 hours, 58 minutes, and 23 seconds left. Or in another way, 11 days, 278 hours, 16,738 minutes, or Jesus, 1,004,288 seconds.
That is the time to DEFCON 29. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. I have no idea how I'm going to get everything done in time. But
where's the panic?
11 days. 11 days.
Where's the panic?
I only just got my challenges into the Darknet thing cleaned up literally, I think last night, or was it the night before?
Thursday night.
This is how we do. Like, I have automated scripts that test all of my exploitable challenges, but like actually writing up the words and stuff, it's like, I can do that in an afternoon. And then I let it go to the last week beforehand. And I'm like, oh no, I forgot we have to play test these things. Oh, I have to start up a web server. Oh, I have to serve these files. Oh, this doesn't work. Oh, why did I do this to myself? Damn you, pass me.
Oh gosh. And you're like,
And a
don't
big
worry.
shout out-
We'll forward the old domain to the new one with a C name. Oh wait, all the files we're sharing on the old web server aren't shared anymore. We would never do that either, right? Right?
But-
No?
And we will always be done by 9 p.m.
Always.
The inside joke of yes, always done by 9. So a big shout out to Colonel's help this year by moving the quest, because we ended up, if you haven't been able to see this yet, we have moved how and where we're interacting with things when you guys are interacting with the daemon. So we were using our own engine that we built, which took a lot of brain power from Zero, from Command, from Fish in the past, and we built our own. This year we switched over to something else called CTFD. So a big shout out to Colonel and all of his help moving that across. And a huge shout out also to Hex7 for creating the new logo and inspiring the theme this year, which is the Hollywood Hacker. So go check it out if you haven't yet. It's a darknet-ng.network.
Other thing for Hex 7, he has if you're into music, he has a YouTube channel. Check it out. It's great music just to groove to and have in the background while you're coding away.
Totes.
With that, man, we're closing up. I cannot wait. The countdown's here. Gator, why don't you spin us to wrap us up?
All right, folks, we're getting close to Defcon. Bring a towel and make sure to prepare your gear. We don't need to panic. Everything is fine. It's going to be done in time. Continue playing.
Perfect time to panic.
Continue going, and I'll enjoy seeing you guys in our Discord, and love your hacker family.
Silk and I have Silk Gulo and I have shenanigans prepared for 2 weeks from now. It's gonna be a good time. I cannot wait to see everyone, and we'll have some special streams from you from special places in the coming weeks.
Gulo, off to you.
So looking at the badge now, the LEDs, they aren't quite as blinding as I thought they should be. So I may be upgrading my badge to like bat signal level of LEDs.
Did anyone see, not to hijack, to throw this off, did anyone see Command Code's badge where he found the brightest LEDs in existence and soldered like 50 of them to the badge? Like you could light up the entire contest floor with it.
I saw him X-ray Gator. I've seen Gator's brain.
Really small, about walnut size.
It was a shadow straight through his skull when Command Code turned on the badge. It was amazing.
I was looking at it when he did that, and I could not see for a good like 20 seconds afterwards.
Right,
I remember
man.
he'd be like,
So
"Check out my badge." Click.
It was like the embodiment of the Inception. Your brain felt it.
And you guys think I'm the evil one.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Oh,
he doesn't engage in chemical warfare. So
I mean, you did give us nosebleeds at the Darknet table.
The things that you see, I'm going to blame Gourry for the nosebleeds. The things that you see from me are imprinted on your brain, not on your retinas.
In your smell receptacles.
Very
if
true.
you ever find a box from Gulo, don't open it ever. And with that, we will see you next week. Thank you for watching, and hack on.